This is Andrew again from the clubs. Speaking about the lockout laws, now the first issue with lockout laws is jobs, jobs and jobs. Now even though the police have certainly said that the lockout laws have reduced violence, they have certainly impacted a lot of people in terms of their jobs. The industry, the clubbing industry themselves, the people who work in the bars, those who manage the clubs, those who are actually the bouncers or even the security, and even the fast food outlets a lot of the students go to after. A lot of these industries have been affected by this.
Fortitude Valley in Brisbane, in Melbourne, that lockouts don't work. DJs performing late into the evening did not have the people following them because after 1:30 they couldn't go and watch their favourite set.
From those changes, King's Cross has now got the toughest laws, liquor licence laws in Australia, without a shadow of a doubt. King's Cross has 10 strike conditions that aren't in the Liquor Act for other premises in New South Wales.
But of course, with every new law, there will be changes and there will be impacts. So what we need to do is understand what those impacts are.
If we're looking at alternatives to these lockout laws, and as I said, lockouts are proven in Melbourne and Brisbane and other places overseas as not being effective. A lockout just creates conflict and stops people from lawfully going to a premises after 1:30 in the morning. That just creates conflict for bar staff, for security staff at the door of venues when they're not letting sober people from going into a venue. What we need to see are things like high visibility policing, better transport. You've got the trains stopping in Sydney at 1:44 in the morning and not starting again until 5:14. And so you've got people being locked out at 1:30, then ceasing alcohol service at 3 a.m. right across the board. So what you see is a sea of people moving into the streets of Sydney, but nowhere to go. There is no transport. There are no sufficient taxis. The bus service is underutilised between King's Cross and the Sydney CBD, and there aren't any trains. So what you end up with is conflict on the street. And that's where these assaults have happened, remember. We've seen these assaults in George Street and up in King's Cross at all hours of the evening, and they're on the public street. They're not in licensed venues. Licensed venues have achieved a 30 or more % reduction in alcohol-related assaults in the last 15. They're at their last 15 years.
The second set of conditions came through on the 6th of December 2013 and included the temporary banning orders linked to ID scanners, which were finally implemented in June of 2014. And long-term banning orders, privacy training obviously for the staff to operate the ID scanners once they were implemented. And there was also then in July 2014, there were further drink restrictions linked to the previous bill when the CBD plan of management came into place, and also the most ramifications for all premises was the licence conditions implemented in February 2014 via way of the lockouts and the cease service at 3 a.m. And obviously those two items in King's Cross, certainly linked with the ID scanners, has created a big downturn in business, and that's the issue here. Is
So we are pleased that there's been a reduction in violence. I have to say some of the taxi drivers that I talk to have said that the streets are a bit quieter now, particularly after 3 a.m. in the morning, and that the demand for taxi services is a little bit earlier and a little bit more intense, particularly around 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. when the lockouts take effect. What we're doing as an industry is we're looking at these impacts, and we're working with government and other stakeholders like the club industry, like the pub industry, the Hotels Association, to see how these impacts can be managed. We want to get you home safely, but we've also got to make a living as well. And so it needs to be sustainable. And that's what we need to do together to make sure that we can have opportunities where you can have fun, go out clubbing, enjoy really good times with your friends, and then get home safely. And out of that, we can perform our role.
The problem is that these laws have been introduced, and in January the sitting of Parliament introduced these laws unanimously. So if we're talking about how to change these laws, it has to come from the people. It has to come from the patrons that want to go out at night. It has to come from the DJs that want to perform during the hours of the night. They're the ones that have to actually go to their local member. They're the ones that voted for this unanimously. Industry associations such as ours can lobby on their behalf, but the real change will come when the people demand that they're able to go out at night, particularly when the vast majority of people do not commit any offences, and we're at a 15-year low in relation to alcohol-related assaults in and around licensed venues. So it's got to come from the people that we get these changes. You know, the patrons that want to go out at night are the ones that have to virtually tell their local members, we need to have our time out at night, and we're law-abiding, so why should we be tarnished with the brush of the few that commit offences?
In Trust itself, over 500 jobs have been lost. They're direct jobs. They're direct jobs between the actual premises that have been imposed with these conditions. Furthermore, there's premises now that are closing by the week. We've had 2 closed in the last 2 weeks. One of those premises in particular has been operating as a nightclub for 30 years. That club itself, with the lockouts imposed, lost 60% of its trade because of the lockouts at 1:30. We believe that no business, no employee should, as a result of the implementation of this bill, should lose their job. The roll-on effect for this is that musicians, DJs, cleaners, security guards, managers, experienced managers, staff have all lost their jobs. That's the reality.
We heard from a variety of different people with a variety of different opinions and solutions. Now, if this affects you, you can get involved or like the Facebook page of the club.